Hello, everybody, once again, to the most must-see podcast to someone anywhere in the world. I'm Freddie Court, representing Mark's side of the ring, back again after a little bit of a hiatus for the holidays, and I was away for the weekend last week, so didn't get a chance to do the podcast. Hope you guys had a nice holiday, nice New Year's, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, the whole deal. And now we're back, though. It's 2022. Hopefully this is a great year for everybody. And a great year for professional wrestling. 2021 was surely an interesting year, starting off, continuing with the pandemic, in the Thunderdome for WWE and AEW doing limited capacity audiences at Daly's Place, the big show being WrestleMania, first show back with fans just for the 2 nights, and then back to reality. And then starting in July, started back again with fans, and I've been to quite a few shows. I just went to SmackDown at Mohegan Sun last Friday. Great show. Went to Raw on Monday, Philadelphia. Last minute decision. Decided, why not? Not a bad drive, and love that venue. So Philly's a great city. So yeah, been to a lot of great shows. Going to the Royal Rumble in a couple of weeks in St. Louis. Very excited for that, of course. And then the big one, WrestleMania in Dallas in April. So I'm very excited about that too. So a lot of fun things coming up. But like I said, coming up in 2 weeks is the Royal Rumble. So we're going to do something a little different. Instead of talking about current stuff, I'm deciding that we're going to do a little look back on things. Anybody could talk about what's going on and give their opinions, but opinions are like, you know what, we all have them. So I'm not going to give you my opinions on what I think is going on currently. I'm going to talk about things that happened in the past and discuss past events. And we're going to do it starting off 2022 with the Royal Rumble. Normally the first pay-per-view of the year. This year we had day one, which was a great show. But normally Royal Rumble starts off the year, starts off the road to WrestleMania. And so we're going to go back looking at some Royal Rumbles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in anniversaries of 5. So we're going to start with the longest one, 30 years ago, 1992. The first Royal Rumble was in 1988, as was the SummerSlam. Pay-per-view was the first one in 88. So first Rumble, 1988 in Hamilton, Ontario. And it was just a network special for USA Network. Humble beginnings. Royal Rumble initially just started as an idea that Pat Patterson had that Vince did not like. And then Dick Ebersol, who was running NBC Sports at the time, said that they needed something. This event, it had, a contract signing with Hulk and Andre the Giant, and it had a couple other matches, but it said it needed something else. So Vince said to Pat, tell Dick your stupid idea. And Pat said, well, it's not a stupid idea. And he let him know about the Royal Rumble, and Dick Ebersol loved it. And Vince gave it a shot. And next year, 1989, was on pay-per-view and has been running strong ever since and is bigger than ever. So obviously it was a good idea on Patterson's behalf, one of his many. So anyway, we're going to go to 1992 to start things off. We're going to cover 3 different Royal Rumbles today. 1992, which was 30 years ago, 1997, which was 25 years ago, and then 2002, which I can't believe I'm saying this, was 20 years ago. Whew. That's amazing. The first Rumble that I was a fan for, that I knew what was going on, was Royal Rumble 1999. But the first Rumble that I actually got to watch live on pay-per-view was the 2002 Royal Rumble. I didn't get to see when it aired, 99, 2000, and 2001, unfortunately. I did later on, but not live on pay-per-view. So 2002, first one I ever saw live on pay-per-view. But anyway, I digress. So let's start off. 1992, the Royal Rumble. Boy, what an event that was. Some people regard it as the best Royal Rumble in history. It certainly is one of the best, no doubt about it. I love the 1992 Royal Rumble. I actually just went back and watched it, and what a show it was. It took place at the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York, an attendance of 17,000 people in that arena. And I believe this is still the arena that WWE runs in Albany. It is now called the I think the Times Union Center. I always remembered it as the Pepsi Center, but it's not the Pepsi Center anymore. I know that. But anyway, Knickerbocker Arena, January 19th, 1992, 17,000 strong to see the Royal Rumble. We'll go over a couple of the matches first and then and go over to the Royal Rumble. So the first match on the card was the New Foundation, which consisted of Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart. And they defeated the Orient Express, the team of Kato and Pat Tanaka, who had Mr. Fuji in their corner. Iconic Mr. Fuji. And like I said, I just rewatched this, and really great match. I don't think it gets much recognition. There is a match from a Royal Rumble, I don't know if it's 91, of the Rockers versus the Orient Express, and that's an amazing match. But anyway, the New Foundation, Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart didn't really tag that long. I don't recall how long exactly, but it wasn't a long run, which is kind of interesting when you really think about it. This was the beginning of Owen Hart's career in WWE. He either teamed with Coco Beware and became High Energy either before the team with Neidhart or after. I don't recall, but great tag match to start the show. Then we have a match for the Intercontinental Championship. Roddy Piper defeated the Mountie by submission to become the new Intercontinental Champion. And until 2006, the only title that Roddy Piper ever held in WWE, which is crazy to think about, right? You would just think that Piper, would have had more belts, but no. I mean, he didn't need them, right? That's the argument, same with Andre the Giant. But yeah, for years, this was Piper's only run, and he only had it for a short period of time. He only held it from the Rumble till WrestleMania 8 when he dropped it to Bret Hart in an amazing match. One of my favorite matches, actually, of Bret's. I think underrated, and definitely probably my favorite Roddy Piper match. But yeah, Roddy Piper winning the Intercontinental title at the Royal Rumble from the Mountie. Then we have a tag match. Beverly Brothers, Bo Beverly and Blake Beverly, with the Genius in their corner, defeated the Bushwhackers, iconic team of the Bushwhackers, who had Jameson in their corner. Jameson's an interesting character. He started out being on the Bobby Heenan show, which only lasted, unfortunately, for a short period of time, and then they brought him on as a manager. But he had such a funny look. From what I understand, Vince McMahon went to a comedy club years ago, and Jameson was one of the acts, and Vince loved it, and he brought him to TV and put him on TV. And he didn't have a long run, but he had he left an imprint. And then kind of funny, back in 2014 at Extreme Rules at Continental Airlines Arena, or Izod Center, which I was there for. If you remember, there was a child that started singing Bray Wyatt's, he's got the whole world, that whole thing, to John Cena. It was a little kid. It was real creepy. Anyway, that is Jameson's son, and I just found out about that. Had no idea. And he didn't get the gig because he was Jameson's son. It was done through a casting agency, and it just, small world. But yeah, crazy stuff. It is a small world, very. But yeah, pretty cool fun factoid for you there. So anyway, Beverly Brothers defeated the Bushwhackers on pay-per-view at the Rumble. Next match for the Tag Team Championships. Another titles change. We have the Natural Disasters, the Earthquake, not the Earthquake. I don't know why I said that. Earthquake and Typhoon, with Jimmy Hart defeating the Legion of Doom, Animal and Hawk, one of the best tag teams of all time. And they won it by countout. So I guess they didn't win the tag titles. I said I watched this and I don't remember that part. Huh? How about that? But they won by countout, so they didn't win the title. See, I lied. Natural Disasters, though, beat Hawk and Animal, but they didn't win the titles. So that's a very important part of the rules. Pinfall or submission only. Can't win by countout. Can't win by DQ. Natural Disasters found that out the hard way tonight. Or not tonight, but 30 years ago at the Royal Rumble. So anyway, Natural Disasters. Yeah, Earthquake and Typhoon didn't have that long of a run, really. I mean, they had a decent run, but I feel like they could have had a way longer run and a way more dominant run. I mean, geez, the Natural Disasters, they were probably the biggest tag team in history. Maybe, Haku and Barbarian were pretty big, but Earthquake and Typhoon were huge. But let's be honest, the reason we're all here, regarded as probably the greatest Royal Rumble match in history, the 1992 Royal Rumble, And this Royal Rumble was significant for multiple reasons, but one of them being that it was for the WWF Championship. Now, at the time, the winner of the Royal Rumble didn't go on to face the champion at WrestleMania. That wouldn't become a stipulation, which really made the Rumble what it is until 1993, the next year, when Yokozuna wins it. But this was the first year that something was actually on the line in the Royal Rumble. And that winner would go on to main event WrestleMania as well because he was champion, although he didn't. The winner of the match was Ric Flair. Yes, Ric Flair winning his first WWF Championship, 1992 at the Royal Rumble. But he didn't go on to main event. But again, it wasn't a stipulation at the time. But he had a great match with Randy Savage. But Hogan and Sid main evented that WrestleMania, which that's a whole nother story for another day. But I'm not going to go over all the eliminations, but I'll just go over who the last four in the ring were. And it was obviously, Flair was in there. Sid Justice was the last one to go out. Hogan was in there, and the Warlord were the last ones in there. So big boys, no doubt about it. And last guy eliminated, Sid Justice, and with the help of Ric Flair. I mean, the help of Hulk Hogan. So. Great match, though. I mean, just some of the names in there. I'm just going to go over some of the names, not all of them. Oh, maybe I'll go over. Just listen to these names. British Bulldog, okay, starting things off. Ted DiBiase, Ric Flair, Jerry Sags, Haku, Shawn Michaels, Tito Santana, Barbarian, Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, Repo Man, Greg Valentine, Nikolai Volkov, Big Boss Man, Hercules, Roddy Piper, Jake Roberts, Jim Duggan, IRS, Jimmy Snuka, The Undertaker, his first Royal Rumble. Maybe it's his second. He was in the 91 one, I believe. Randy Savage, the Berserker. Okay, that one stinks a little bit. Virgil, Conan Mustafa, Rick Martel, Hulk Hogan, Skinner, Sergeant Slaughter, Sid Justice, and the Warlord. Like I said, star-studded. Probably one of the most star-studded Royal Rumbles in history. But yeah, Ric Flair outlasted 29 other men, thrown over the top rope to go on to win the Royal Rumble and the WWF Championship. Great Royal Rumble. So we're going to jump ahead now 5 years. A lot had happened in those 5 years. You had the 93 Rumble, like I said, was the first one to have a stipulation of the winner going on to main event WrestleMania, which Yokozuna won. 94, you had Lex and Brett splitting it. And then you had in 95, Shawn Michaels winning from the number one spot. And in 96, Shawn Michaels also winning the Rumble that year. And speaking of Shawn Michaels would play an integral part, if not the part, of the 1997 Royal Rumble, which took place in his hometown of San Antonio, Texas, in a packed house at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. What a venue. They went back there 5 years ago. We will cover that at a future date, the 2017 Rumble. But in 1997, they were there for the Royal Rumble. First time they'd ever run the Alamo Dome, and the first time in years since WrestleMania 8, 1992, that WWE had run any kind of dome, period. So it was a big deal. We had an attendance of 60,477. Take that what you will. I know those are always going to be debated, but that's what I'm being told, and that's what I'm going to tell you. So 60,477. And this year, one of the few years that the Royal Rumble did not main event the show. Usually the Rumble is last, but there are select years that doesn't happen. And this was one of them. This may have been the first year that the Rumble didn't go last, but don't quote me on that. But we're going to start things off with Hunter Hearst Helmsley with Mr. Hughes. Mr. Hughes in Triple H's corner. Yeah, it didn't last long, but this may have been the first time that he came out with him. And then it would be like the next month or so that he started having China, which obviously, worked tremendously. But it was Triple H with Mr. Hughes defeating Goldust with Marlena, retaining the Intercontinental Championship. So it's interesting to see the Intercontinental title. In 1992, you had Bret Hart and the Mountie, and in 1997, you got Triple H and Goldust. Second match on the card, Ahmed Johnson defeated Farouk, and he defeated him by disqualification. Farouk had the Nation of Domination, early Nation. Clarence Mason, Crush, D'Lo Brown, JC Ice, and Wolfie D, better known as PG-13. Ahmed Johnson with the win by DQ. Next, you had Vader defeating The Undertaker. Not a fan of that, to be honest with you. I just recently rewatched 1997 Royal Rumble also. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of the match. I'm just saying I'm not a fan of Vader beating Undertaker. I'm not a fan of anybody beating Undertaker, but let alone Vader. I like Vader, but not at the Royal Rumble against Undertaker. And then you had a 6-man tag. They had a lot of AAA stars. It was a big cross promotion, I guess being in San Antonio, right by the border. I will try to pronounce these names as best as I can. Kenek, Hector Garza, and Pero Aguayo defeated Fuerza Guerrera, Heavy Metal, and Jerry Estrada in a 6-man tag match. And then in the big match, Stone Cold Steve Austin would win the Royal Rumble and earn his shot for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 13. Last eliminated Bret Hart. But if you have been a fan, you know the story that Bret actually eliminated Austin, but the ref didn't see it, came back in, boom, 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 and eliminated Bret Hart. And that started Bret's heel run because he was starting to get screwed, he felt, which only if he knew what would come in November. But there's also a really good Royal Rumble match. I don't know if it's definitely not as good as 1992, but Stone Cold winning his first Rumble, he won 3 of them. So for him to win his first one was a big deal. Some big names in this one as well. Crush, Ahmed Johnson, Fake Razor Ramon, Phineas Godwin, Austin, Bart Gunn, Jake Roberts, British Bulldog. So he's still there, British Bulldog. Peroth. Like I said, there's a few AAA stars. The Sultan, who would later go on to become Rikishi. Mil Mascaras, which is a big star. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Owen Hart, Goldust, Cybernetico, Mark Merrow, Latin Lover, Farouk, Savio Vega, Jesse James, Bret Hart, Jerry Lawler, Fake Diesel, Terry Funk, very cool. Rocky Maivia, The Rock's first Royal Rumble. Mankind, also his first Royal Rumble. Flash Funk, Vader, Henry O. Godwin, and The Undertaker. So Undertaker was number 30. And so a lot of big names in this one too, I don't know if it's necessarily as big as 92 the names, but a lot of big ones, some repeats, some guys, Jake Roberts, British Bulldog, Undertaker. So some guys that we saw in 1992 appearing in 1997, but not very many. It's amazing you really see what changes in 5 years, right? But so that was the Royal Rumble match. And then, like I said, not the main event, though. The main event would be Shawn Michaels and Psycho Sid for the WWF Championship. And Shawn Michaels would go on to regain his championship that he lost from Psycho Sid at Survivor Series. And he beat Psycho Sid to do it. Great match. Ironically, Shawn Michaels had the flu for this, but you would never know. He still went out there and killed it like Shawn Michaels does. But yeah, Shawn Michaels was not feeling well, but he didn't let it stop him from stealing the show because he's the showstopper, Big win, obviously. I mean, his parents are there, family, friends, and, he's going all around, shaking hands, hugging people, just, pure craziness. The, hometown boy, what a big night for him. It's a shame that he didn't get to go on to WrestleMania as champion, but there's all different stories about that and everything, but he wouldn't hold the title for long. But this was supposed to be Vader, as was Survivor Series. The idea, I believe, was, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and then Rumble, 3 match series, and then, with Shawn winning it back at the Rumble. But because of certain things that happened at SummerSlam, that didn't happen, and we got Psycho Sid as Survivor Series, and then the Royal Rumble. But a great match. Shawn win the title back. So that brings us to 02. Now, it also changed between 97 and 02, just like between 92 and 97. But in 98, we had Stone Cold winning again. 99, Mr. McMahon winning. 2000, The Rock winning the Royal Rumble. 2001, Stone Cold Steve Austin again in his final win of the Royal, not his final Royal Rumble. That would come in the one we're about to cover right now, 2002. But yeah, so Stone Cold winning 3 Royal Rumbles, 97, 98, and 2001. Pretty big deal. Nobody's beaten that record yet. And I kind of hope nobody does. A lot of people have 2 under their belts. Shawn, he was the first. Shawn does, Triple H does, Edge does, Randy Orton. That might be it, actually. That might be it. But don't quote me on that. But that might be it as far as winning 2. But Stone Cold's the only one to win 3. Oh, and Hogan. But Stone Cold's the only one with 3. So he holds that record still. So anyway, 1992, 1997, and now 2002. We are in Atlanta, Georgia at the Phillips Arena, 16,106 to see the Royal Rumble. It is the last Royal Rumble under the WWF banner. Kind of fun factoid there. This is one of my favorite Royal Rumbles. I just love this one. Maybe it's because the first one I got to watch live on pay-per-view, but I just loved this Rumble, especially the Rumble match. It's one of my favorite Rumble matches, to be honest. 01 might be one of the best, Rumble matches, with the Kane story and Stone Cold winning after being out with neck surgery. But this one's right up there. But before we get to the Rumble, we're going to start off with Spike Dudley and Taz defeating the Dudley Boys with Stacy Keibler to retain the tag team championships. Interesting tag teams, Spike and Taz. They didn't have a long run. This is like some of the last stuff Taz did in the ring. Actually, he would wrap it up pretty soon after this. And the Dudley Boys with Stacy Keibler, that was an interesting combination. It was she got a good rub from them and legitimized her kind of, but and nobody minds seeing Stacy in a short camouflage skirt, but that's neither here nor there. But Spike and Taz retaining the tag team championships. Next, William Regal defeated Edge to become the new Intercontinental Champion. So there we are again, the Intercontinental Championship on the line. This time, William Regal and Edge are the competitors, with Edge going in as champion, William Regal winning the championship. So it's kind of interesting. Neither one of those guys were there in 92, 97, but the Intercontinental title is still there, right? Then Trish Stratus defeated Jazz for the WWF Women's Championship. She retained it with Jacqueline as the special guest referee. Now, this was obviously years before the women had a Royal Rumble match. That didn't happen all the way until 2018. But the Women's Championship was on the line. Not a great match, but nothing terrible. The next match, though, really good. Ric Flair defeated Mr. McMahon by submission in a street fight. What a match it was. I mean, it really was one of the best street fights of all time. Ric Flair, when he came back to WWE, was not supposed to wrestle. That's the funny story. He was just going to be an on-air character, and a couple months in, what do you know? Vince says, you're going to wrestle, and it's going to be against me. And it was a bloodbath, but you won't see that today. But what a match. I mean, you see Ric's son, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and his daughter ringside there, and they're involved taking photos. It's just a really good stuff. Ric Flair beats McMahon by submission using the figure 4, of course. And Ric Flair's first match back, after years. So 10 years later, from Ric Flair winning the Royal Rumble in 1992, he's here in 2002. Who would have thunk it? And he's beating Mr. McMahon in a street fight. If you said that in 1992, that Flair would be on the card 10 years later and beating Mr. McMahon, I wouldn't take that bet, but I would have been wrong. And then for the WWF Championship, the Undisputed Championship, Chris Jericho, surprisingly, right, as champion, defeated The Rock. What a great match these two had. They had great chemistry, but Rock and Jericho always killed it. And on this night, Jericho defeated The Rock. Big match. Jericho would go on to Mania to be champion. He wouldn't keep it because the man that wins the Royal Rumble would go on to WrestleMania and beat Chris Jericho for that title. And of course, I am talking about none other than the game Triple H, who last eliminated Kurt Angle to win the Royal Rumble match. What a star-studded Royal Rumble. I talked about 1992 and 2002, also star-studded. Like I said, Triple H, who just came back a couple weeks prior, and then to, outlast 29 guys after 9 months being out. We had Rikishi, Goldust returning, Bossman returning, Bradshaw, Lance Storm, Al Snow, Billy Gunn, The Undertaker, Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Maven, Scotty 2 Hotty, Christian, DDP, Chuck Palumbo, The Godfather, who was returning, Albert, Perry Saturn, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, Val Venus, who was returning, Test, Triple H, The Hurricane, Farouk, Mr. Perfect, who was returning, Kurt Angle, Big Show, Kane, RVD, and last but not least, number 30, Booker T. So another huge stacked Royal Rumble. Like I mentioned when I was going down, the card guys are returning. Mr. Perfect, who hadn't been there in quite a few years. His run didn't last long, but it was cool to see him back. Val Venus, who hadn't been that character in a while, so that was cool. Same with The Godfather. And then, of course, Goldust back. So that was really cool. Really, really good match. And Triple H winning was the right call. I was really jacked when Triple H won. I remember being really pumped up. He would go on to WrestleMania and, like I said, defeat Chris Jericho. So it was a successful night for him, as would be WrestleMania. So anyway, so that's the 2002 Royal Rumble. 20 years ago, if you can believe that. I sure can't. And one of the coolest moments of this Rumble, of course, was the Undertaker. Well, not cool. I wasn't happy, but Undertaker getting defeated by Maven. Can you believe that? But then Undertaker beat the crap out of Maven all throughout the arena. And what was it? Just a great beatdown, and then eating the popcorn. Just really good stuff. But shocking that Maven eliminated the Undertaker. But Undertaker got his due. But that brings us to a close for today, going over the Rumbles. Next week, we will go over more Royal Rumbles, starting with 2007. So I hope you enjoyed the show, changed it up a little bit, went back and looked at some Royal Rumbles. We will do that again next week. Thank you again for listening. Hope to see you back next week. Hope you watch some Royal Rumbles in the meantime. And for Mark's Side of the Ring, I'm Fred Court. We'll see you next time.